Welcome everyone to today's Mindful on Wall Street mindfulness and meditation session. We have a very special guest today who's going to lead the session, the incredible George Mumford, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. But before I do that, I wanted to firstly welcome all of you and thank you for joining today. And for those of you who are new, my name is Janna Bilski. I work at the Ford Foundation in the investments area, and I started a meditation and mindfulness program there about 5 years ago. And Mindful on Wall Street is a grassroots collaboration, a group of mindfulness champions who work across the financial services industry and who seek to amplify the reach of mindfulness, meditation, and compassion in the at our respective organizations. So again, welcome to today's session. And without further ado, I'm going to read a little bit about George and then hand it over to him. So George Mumford, also known as the Mindfulness Performance Whisperer, is a highly acclaimed and leading expert in sports psychology and performance. Phil Jackson called George his secret weapon to winning multiple championships, and Michael Jordan credits George with transforming his on-court leadership of the Bulls, helping Jordan lead the team to 6 NBA championships. George Mumford is a globally recognized speaker, teacher, and coach that has been honing his gentle yet groundbreaking mindfulness techniques for over 30 years with high-profile sports players and teams such as the Los Angeles Lakers, Chicago Bulls, and New York Knicks, as well as Olympians, executives, and artists. He is also the author of The Mindful Athlete's Secrets to Pure Performance. So George, thank you very much for being with us today. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to have you. And I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Janna, and welcome everyone. It's exciting to be here. And I don't know about you folks, but I've been on the go all day today. And what I'd like to do is offer us this little practice I like to engage in called arriving. And so the idea is we'll actually start off just becoming aware of the fact that we are sitting, and I'm assuming no one's driving, or if they're in a stationary spot and we're just sitting in a chair or on a cushion, just become aware of the fact that you're breathing and sitting and just lightly closing your eyes and tuning in to the body and the breath, that we're sitting and breathing and knowing it. Just that simple. What we do all the time, but this time we're going to do it with intention. This idea of just being able to notice that we're sitting and breathing, and the idea is to breathe using the belly breathing, so that we're breathing through our nose and not through our mouths. So we're breathing in and out through the nostrils. And if you are comfortable with it, if you put one palm on your chest or sternum, and you can just help that to anchor you into the moment, and just noticing that you're sitting, and as you breathe in, you can feel the belly expanding, the lungs expanding, the air coming in through your nose. And as you breathe in, you can feel the entirety of your body. So you'll notice the touch points all the way down to the bottoms of your feet and toes, out to your fingertips, up to the top of your head, so that you're just sitting and breathing and knowing it. Breathing in, feeling the entire body. Breathing out, feeling the entire body. So we're letting go of all the activities that we were engaged in before getting here. Like for me, being in a rush to get back after being in traffic for a little bit, and still maybe racing at the speed of which I was driving, and just settling into the breath, resting in the breath, resting in the body. And just noticing, sitting and breathing, breathing in, feeling the body in its entirety, breathing out, feeling the body. And when I talked about putting the sternum, the palm on the sternum, just noticing, just directing your attention to the sternum, to the palm, and noticing, you could feel, even for me, as I talk, I can feel the vibrations of my voice. I can feel the lungs expanding and contracting, and I can just feel the pressure, in this case, making contact, feeling what that feels like. So when we do this process, it's very simple. When we notice that we're involved in thoughts or images or sounds, just by thinking about the breath in the in the body, thinking about the palm, your attention goes there. Then once your attention is there, then just dropping below the concept of palm, body, and just feel what's there. Contact, pressure, heat, expansion, contraction, tingling. So that we're just sitting and breathing and knowing it, letting go of all of the activities before getting here and all the activities that will happen afterwards when we leave here. So it's just resting in the breath, resting in the body, so that we arrive where we are. So that I'm not in a car driving at 40, 50 miles an hour. I'm sitting and I can feel that. I can prove it out very simply by noticing the parts of my body that are making contact. Sitting and breathing and knowing it. Feeling the body as we breathe in. Feeling the entire body as we breathe out. Allowing whatever's there to just be there. There's no need to push anything away or to pull anything towards us. Just a matter of being still, being silent, being observant, and just noticing what it feels like to be sitting and breathing and knowing it. Resting in the breath, resting in the body. So you might say we're stopping, and by stopping and focusing on the body and the breath, resting in the body and the breath, we get connected with calm. And when we get connected with calm, we're able to rest. So stopping, calming, resting. Saying no to everything else and yes to the breath, yes to the body, yes to the activity of sitting and breathing and knowing it. So we'll take a few more cycles of just breathing in and breathing out. And if we need to adjust our effort, or maybe you're trying too hard, we can ease up a little bit. And you could tell because you create tension in the body. And if you're not bringing enough effort to bear so that you can actually feel yourself sitting and breathing, then bringing more energy, more effort, more intention into that. And if you have it just right, just noticing you're sitting and breathing, breathing in while feeling the body, breathing out, feeling the body. So when you're ready, just breathing in and feeling the body all the way down to the toes, up to the fingers, up to the top of the head, the whole body being breathed. And as you breathe out, just letting go of the body, letting go of the breath, and just opening your eyes. So I feel like I have arrived. I'm not in my car. my mind and body are occupying the same space at the same time. And it feels great to kind of be here, to have that sense of calm and not have to deal with it, with the tension that comes with our busy lives. And so for me, I was out shopping for furniture and for this new space, and time got away from us. And I was concerned about getting back here in the new place, having to set up a Zoom session I've never done before in this space, hoping that everything's going to work. And there's a lot going on with that. And so when I can just stop and get connected with calm, and when I can rest and just being here and just doing what I know to do and trust that the next step will happen, will be shown to me, it makes life a lot easier. And so I suspect that a lot of you folks are going through the same thing, where in order to be here, you had to make some commitments, some sacrifices, and you may have had to rush a little bit or to bring certain level of activity into the process. And it's always helpful during the day to really, in between places, to make sure that for me to make sure that I'm here and now and I'm not still in the store looking at furniture, even though there's some things that I could be still thinking about. But I don't want to have this habit of being where I just was and not being here. And then when I leave here and I'm into my next activity, I'm back here. Or maybe I'm in the next activity that's coming and not really here. And so we need to know that. We need to understand that the only place we can be is here, and the only time we can be is now. And so why not practice that? Why not address that? And so this arrival activity, you can do that. We did it for several minutes, but you can do it for a few seconds. You can do it for a minute. You can do it with your eyes open, where you just sit and just say, okay, I'm sitting and I'm breathing in, breathing out, have my eyes open, just noticing that I'm anchoring myself in the moment, in the body, in the breath, and being able to let go of things so that I could be in the moment. And I find this very helpful, especially during this time, because I think about it all the time. Things are different. Things have been shaken up because of COVID. But the reality is things are always changing, whether we acknowledge it or not. But when it's really obvious, we see that there's a lot of change. And with that change and just not knowing things, we have to understand that there's two sides of the coin. I talk about it all the time. One side is heads. That's possibility or freedom. The other side is tails. That's uncertainty or anxiety. They come together. And so when there's possibility, there's anxiety there as well. And this is what Soren Kierkegaard said. He calls it the alarming possibility of being able. So we act like we're not supposed to be anxious, or we're not supposed to be dealing with uncertainty. Yeah, that's the way life is. Things are always changing. So to the degree that we could be still and know, we can be in what I call the eye of the hurricane, where we're this silent witness, and we can just sit and observe what's going on uncritically or mindfully, where we're not moving towards it or moving away from it and not spacing out, but really just waiting with intelligence, with patience. What is this? And letting whatever's happening to unfold in its own language, in its own way. And so we have to be able to understand that we can step back from our experience and be self-aware, be aware of what we're observing, but also be aware of whether we're here or we're there or somewhere else. That we can always think and say, okay, a couple of things. Am I present? Am I reacting to things, or am I responding to things? Am I able to stop and create space between stimulus and response? And in that space, I get the freedom and power to choose based on my core values, based on being present, based on what it is I want to do, what my aim is. So right now, I would say no matter where we go, it's helpful to have an aim that says, I need to be here now, and I need to notice what's happening in a way where I'm open to see it in new and fresh ways, And I'm not trying to make something happen. I'm just getting the information, the intel, so that I can make wise choices. But a lot of that has to do with being patient. Now, I'm not talking about, for some of you folks in New York, I'm not talking about walking across the street and being calm and waiting for something. No, you have to you have to get your butt out of the street. You still have to move and you still have to do things. But in the activity of that, you got to be aware of what's going on. And noticing you're crossing the street, so you have to be careful of the traffic when to go across and not to run into anything or get run over. But we need to be paying attention sometimes when we're moving at the speed of light or moving fast or we're in action. And we still have to be able to understand, well, what am I doing? And am I here? And when you're here and you can see things, then we can start to understand on a deeper level what's happening. And in the immediacy of experience, we need to be able to make a choice. And so this simple practice of just sitting and being still and just noticing and resting in the breath and the body, it helps get the mind into what I call I call mindfulness. So we can be mindful, we can see things, and mindfulness makes you flow ready, makes you be able to see things in a way where you actually catch a wave, or you catch a current and you catch a flow that can help you kind of ease through your day, ease through life. So it's really, really important that we start to understand that our quality of mind, like I have these glasses on, and I like to talk about this anxiety and uncertainty. And so there's this, I'm right-handed. So if I think about my left brain and my right brain, and I think about the idea that the linear part is 1 + 1 = 2, that part is dominating the conversation, dominating what's happening. And I need to be able to be still and know or stop, so that the intuitive part, the part that sees the melody, the whole picture, can get a word in edgewise. Because as soon as this is dominating, so it takes it takes over everything, and there's no way for the right brain to have access. And so when we can just be still and know, we are allowing that intuitive part, that knowing on a deep level, seeing the melody of the song, not seeing just the words, that we're able to use the whole brain and be able to use more of our potential, more of our talents than just reacting. So this is the left brain, and this also is consistent with this idea of being in survival mode, of fight, flight, or freeze, because we're afraid, and that anxiety is causing us to shut down, to be uncommunicative. We need to be able to notice that and say, okay, I'm reacting to things. There's no space between stimulus and response. I'm in survival mode. How do I get out of survival mode and the growth mode? And the way we do that is to be still and know. And you might notice that when you do practice and you sit and you meditate and you relax, your stomach starts making noises, gurgling, and especially if you're just eating. And what's happening? Well, you're in the rest and digest. And so your body is going to digest food, do the things that it's supposed to do. If you're in the fight, flight, or freeze, and not in the growth mode, but in survival mode, then all of the blood and all the chemicals go to the big muscles. So even though you have food there, it's not being digested. It's not working. But and on a cellular level, we need to understand this, that we're either in survival mode or growth mode. You can't be in both. And so if you're on your heels, you can't be on your toes. You're moving backwards, you can't be moving forward. So we need to have these pockets of stillness, I would call them, so we can reassess and get out of the me being right-handed, being dominated by the linear mind, and letting the holistic mind, or the idea of integrating both left and right hemispheres in the brain, so that we're able to use our full potential, and we're able to see the melody of the song, because sometimes that tells us much more than just the words. And so that's kind of a metaphor for this practice. So why do we practice? We practice so that we are able to be present for our lives. We're able to make wise choices. We're able to see, even though there's anxiety, the anxiety is possibility. So if we can just embrace it and say, yes, this is what's happening, and how do I work through it? How do I move through it? And we have to be able to to be still and know. We have to be able to at least observe our experience and notice, okay, anxiety is present. How do I relate to it in a way that is helpful? How do I take anxiety, instead of seeing it as a roadblock, to use it as a stepping stone? And the only way out is through. So you can visualize anxiety as being a door. You just walk through it. But we have to have the courage. We have to be willing to be vulnerable and say, I don't know. Let me see what I can do, what's possible. And so I'll just talk a few more minutes and then we can answer some questions. But I have this series I've been doing for over 70 weeks. It's called Being at Home with George during COVID. It's on YouTube. And every week I start off by talking about creating the possibility of embracing whatever comes up and generating the hope. So embracing whatever comes up, generating the hope. So in other words, saying yes to life and yes, and how do I relate to this in a way? What's the lesson? How do I make this roadblock into a stepping stone? And part of that is, initial part is to get out of survival mode into growth mode, where we can just observe and get the intelligence, the intel that we need so that we can make accurate decisions. But we have to be in a growth mode, because we're in survival mode. We're not going to be open to what's happening. We're not going to see clearly. So I don't know if I want to say any more than that, but it's really important in this time that we say yes to whatever's happening and what's the lesson. But we have to get the mind into a growth mindset so we can actually see things and we can learn and grow. So, yeah, so if we can open up for questions. Janna, did you want to step in? Okay, are you muted?
Nope.
I can't hear you. Okay. No, you're muted now.
I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, George, for offering your practice and for your thoughts and your wisdom. There were so many gems, rich gems in what you said. But it'd be great to open it up for other people, to, if anyone has any questions. So usually in these sessions, at the end we have some questions and community sharing. So please feel free to unmute yourself and ask George any questions that you have or share any thoughts. We'd love to hear from you.
I'll jump in. Thanks, George. I actually missed the first couple of minutes, sadly, but I got most of it. I think I got the melody. I've been kind of in and out of sort of mindfulness practice for the past year or two, during a time where there's a lot going on in my life, as in everyone's. So I wonder what counsel you would have in terms of how to keep mindfulness as a friend and how to be not one of the friends that you talk to so rarely and you're like, oh my God, we have so much to catch up on. Well, like someone that you actually see, every day in your life.
How do you, what's the question again? How do you bring more mindfulness?
How do you stay consistent with it, right? So like, I've had trouble with this.
Yeah, so definition of mindfulness. So some people have practice of mindfulness where you're just sitting and being still. That's really helpful. But mindfulness is a practice you can engage in from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, where you ask yourself questions and you can get a rough idea, like, you can check your body. How's your energy? Is it positive? Is it negative? Are you seeing things positively or not? If you're meeting people and you're engaging with people, can you practice deep listening? Just listening to the person without thinking about anything, but just being in your body and just listening to them. So you can practice mindfulness all day long, where you keep asking yourself, where's my mind? What am I focused on? Where's my intention? What do I want to accomplish? How do I feel? That's an important one. Am I at peace or am I agitated? You can feel that in your body. And, there's a practice called I won't spend a lot of time, but it's called clear comprehension. So you're asking what's my intention and what's the suitability, what's the best way to do it. And then during the day, you can just tune into your body every once in a while and just noticing if you're standing, walking, whatever posture you're in, can you feel your body in that posture and breathe in and breathe out? Your eyes open. I'm walking and breathing in, breathing out. I'm standing, I'm lying down, I'm listening. You can always tune into your breath and your body. And so that's what I say. And it's what we call bare awareness. You're just paying attention to your body, just to the fact that you can feel what's there for the continuity of mindfulness is just being in your body, just noticing. Simple thing like sitting and breathing, or I'm listening, just like when you're listening to me, can you tune into your body and just let the words speak for themselves and just stay present.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Thank you.
George, we have a question in the chat from Colleen. Nice to see you, Colleen. Her question is, how can we be accepting of negative emotions and thoughts instead of trying to push them away?
Yes. So that's a tricky one, because sometimes we'll do things in order to get rid of it, which is another form of aversion. And the idea is not to push it away and not to identify with it, but to allow it to just notice it, noticing it. So if it's a negative thought or whatever, just noticing it and making space for it, and then noticing how it feels in your body. So if you have anger, let's say, and you're thinking about anger and you're trying to get rid of the anger, it's not working. But if you just notice what it feels like on the level of bare sensation, where is it in your body, and just direct your attention there and breathe with it and just deal with it on the level of sensation. So for me, it might be a tightness in my lower left stomach, just noticing it. And if I can just deal with it as a level of sensation, just allowing it to just be there, breathe with it, let it be there. Because the problem is we get identified with stuff. So when you try to push it away, it's like having Velcro on it. You're more attached to it. If you try to pull it towards you, it's the same thing. But if you just let it be, just notice, oh, I'm just feeling this, and not get into the thoughts about it, you can just deal with the sensation of the anger in your body. Does that make sense?
Much. Colleen said yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Aware that we will only have about a minute left, and I want to be respectful of people's time. And I wanted to share, if you're interested in learning more about George's work, you can go to his website, georgemumford.com, and I believe Leah is going to put that in the chat for ease of reference. There you'll find that George is offering an upcoming masterclass called Dealing with Anxiety as the World Reopens. It's an inside job, which he shares some of the practices that he's taught to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Olympic athletes, CEOs, students, and parents around the world. He's also offering the Mindful Athlete course based on the concepts and practices he wrote about in his first book, The Mindful Athlete: Secrets to Pure Performance. It's part memoir and part instruction guide for anyone looking to elevate their game and performance, no matter the pursuit. And as he mentioned, he has a weekly YouTube video, which I love watching the videos on, called At Home with George. And then lastly, the next Mindful on Wall Street mindfulness and meditation session will be on August 9th at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then in the fall, we're going to be offering weekly sessions again. So stay tuned for details on that. And we're working on some exciting future programming, some fireside chats. So stay tuned for details with those. And this community is for you. So please send us any ideas, thoughts that you have around future sessions, events, programming. We'd love to hear from you. And you can email us at hello@mindfulandwallstreet.org. And thank you again, George, for being with us. We hope that you come back. Really appreciate everything that you shared and are really grateful. And again, honored to have you here. And so good to see you.
Same here. Good to see you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.